Welcome to the video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at another little quadcopter. Now over the past couple of months we've been looking at smaller quads, things like this kind of tiny Whoop clone. We added a little camera to it. This is my QX90 that I absolutely love. It's one of my favourites. You can see that the 3D printed prop guard has taken a little bit of a hit there. That gets flown a lot. We also have a couple of others here. This was one that we did, the brushless build, where we actually used a kit for that one with everything came in, right up to some of the much more powerful but smaller quads. This is actually a KISS powered little 180 class using the grasshopper frame. But one of the things that all of these models have in common is you do need a remote control radio in order to use it. Now we're going to be looking at this thing here. This is the E50 from Banggood, so I need to say a very big thank you to those guys for shipping it to us. And there's two reasons that we really want to look at this. One is I have been interested in seeing where we are with these kind of smaller models that don't require a radio, because this is controlled by an app on either an Android or an Apple device. And also it's been featured on lots and lots of places about what a great gadget it is. So unboxing it is really straightforward. All we're going to do is just take the top off, the actual model itself comes out, and then you pick the piece of plastic up. Under that you get a single battery, you get some spare props, and you get a little USB charger with a cover and a little manual. And the manual is pretty terrible, to be honest, but we'll go through all of the things, particularly around the manual, to show you how you actually get this thing working. The little USB charger has a little plug that you plug the battery into, and then you plug the entire thing into your USB output. The battery itself is a 3.7 5000 milliamp hour 20C pack, and that's kind of good for 6 to 7 minutes of flying, depending on how you fly. And it takes a while to charge though. This one's taking well over an hour and a half, so it's something that once you've had a fly, you need to kind of take a break. It might be worthwhile, if you're thinking of getting one of these, to maybe see if you can order some spare batteries. Now the actual device itself isn't particularly expensive. It's on Banggood at the moment for about £34, and the spares are available too, so you can get spare arms and you can get a spare main body, and you will need those because it's an indoor lightweight quad. The way it works is that each of these arms just kind of pop out and they lock into position with a little bit of a tab. You can knock them back if you need to, but it needs a reasonable hit in order to move it. But that does mean it's very transportable. And one of the things I was wondering whether this was something that I could actually take with me when I go away on business and bring back. Now, I've just done it wrong again. You have to put the front arms in first in order for the back arms to lock in properly. If you don't do it that way, then it won't fold down. It's this very small weight. It is very lightweight. It doesn't weigh very much at all. So let's go through a couple of the specs on this thing. So the way it works is it does connect to your phone. So let's actually plug the battery in. I'll show you how to do that. You have to slide the battery cover forward and then lift it up with the edge of a nail. You're not supposed to leave the battery installed all the time. That's because you actually turn it on and off using the little power button at the top. So it's always pulling a little bit of current from the battery. So if you're not going to be using it, it's better to pull the battery out. Now this is quite fiddly. You have to push the battery into the battery connector at the front. There we go, that's got it worried. And there's only just enough room to get the battery in behind the connector, and you've got to try and kind of find a place for all those wires, and you're in business. Now what we'll do is we'll just make a little bit more room, bind it all up and get it all working. You need to make sure that this is turned on. It gives a wireless signal that you have to then connect your tablet to. So before you start the app, and it's Wi-Fi UFO, what you have to do is turn the quad on. And once it starts, it gives you all these wonderful flashing lights. It has flashing lights on the rear, 2 red ones, and it has 2 white ones on the front. And there's our little FPV camera. You can change the orientation, but you don't really want to be flying it too fast. So what we'll do is, let me just quickly go into the settings. and look at the Wi-Fi bits, and we should find, there it is, Eachine. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect to that guy. And there we go. So now we're looking out the front of the Eachine. But one of the things you will notice is the lag between me moving the model and actually looking at this array of other small quadcopters. It's quite significant. Now, I wouldn't expect that you're going to fly this as a true FPV craft, but this is pretty common for a lot of the Wi-Fi stuff that I've ever seen, is you do have that slight delay in movement. So what you do is you press on in the top right hand corner. It gives you the layout of the sticks. You need to press the angle mode at the top, which is that little button that looks like two triangles, one on top of the other, and then you can start to get going. Now the way you control it, exactly as you would expect, you control it using this is rudder and throttle, over here is elevator and aileron. You take off using this button here in the lower left hand corner, that starts the motors. And then using the throttle you can manage the height. To stop everything you can either click the emergency stop, which will stop the whole thing, or you can click in the bottom right hand corner, which is the kind of auto descend button. There are trims around here for each position. You can calibrate the model while it's sat on the floor. There is a calibration bits and pieces up here in the top right hand corner, but I found that it was reasonable straight out the box. With a little bit of trimming it would hover successfully. So let me just show you a quick little bit of video of this thing in action inside in the hall, and as you can see it's flying reasonably well. It's handling its height quite well. Once you've got it set, then you can move it around and do what you want, and the screen is pretty good. The camera's not bad considering the size, and it absolutely allows me to fly around the house indoors using the tablet and also watching it line of sight but glancing down to see what I'm actually taking a video of. So what do I think? Well, a couple of things I think about this. First of all is that I do like the fact that it is so cheap and cheerful. It's amazing that we can get this much technology in something that costs this little. The other thing I quite like is that it does mean that people who don't already have some kind of radio control can have a go at flying one of these models and experience the radio controlled hobby in a limited form very simply for not a lot of cash. Because most people already have something like a smartphone or a tablet. The limitations of something like this, well, there is the physical limitation. It is quite lightweight and it is potentially going to get damaged if you smash it into stuff. The fact that the props are unguarded isn't great. I love the fact that it all folds up so you can kind of take it around with you. But the fact that the props aren't covered does mean that it potentially will do more damage to your property in the front room. That's why things like the Tiny Whoop and others are so popular at the moment, because you can bounce them off furniture, people and pets, and they don't do an awful lot of damage. Every time this is going to hit a wall, you are going to damage a prop or potentially snap an arm, particularly if you're falling from height. The other thing that I'm not a big fan of is using this kind of control. And I think that's because of all my years using a more traditional radio control system where I can feel where the sticks are. There is no feedback about where the stick is, so you have to get very used to using the tablet or the phone or whatever it is that you're flying with, where the thumb is for the middle position. And I found that I was taking my thumb off the sticks a lot to try and figure out where the middle level was. I normally rely on that physical feedback from a radio to know when I'm in that middle stick position, and you get that feedback. You don't with this kind of pushing a blob around on a screen. So for that reason, I probably wouldn't recommend this to somebody that wants to get into quadcopters with a view to moving on to something that's a little bit bigger, a little bit more aggressive, and a little bit more professional. So this is probably something I'd recommend for those people who are interested in multi-rotors, who just want to have a go and see what it's like and have the thrill of controlling something that's hovering in 3D space. And I guess that's exactly what it's aimed at. And if that's what you are and what you're looking for, then this is definitely worth a look. If you are looking for something to be an indoor trainer, to keep that muscle memory from summer while you're battling through the winter months, then there are probably other better options that will link to a more traditional radio to help you keep that muscle memory and to help you keep that practice up. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video. There are lots of other videos on the channel and they're carefully ordered into playlists, so you may find that there are other videos on this same subject that you can go and watch. So I would recommend going into the playlist area of Painless 360 YouTube channel and looking around and seeing what there is. You never know what you might find. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and happy flying.